Hello! So a very, very, very long time ago, it must have been about grade 3 or 4. I think we're talking about 2004, 2005. I'm not too sure. It was a long time ago. I stole a book from a friend, and it ended up leading to a scandal, a primary school scandal that ended in heartbreak, ended in betrayal, ended in tragedy. This story is 100% true, and I'm going to do my best not to make it sound like I had an excuse for doing what I did, other than the fact I was a little kid. I was an idiot. I'm not a thief. People leave comments on like every single video I upload asking where Bonnie is and saying, "Needs more Bonnie." Well, here she is. You know what the secret is? She doesn't want to be in my videos. She only likes being around when there's food, don't you? Bitch. So when I was a kid, I had this friend. His name was Ben, and his family was incredibly wealthy. Now, I was a book nerd even when I was a little kid. I was spending most of my lunch times in the library. And I don't know if nerd is the right word because I wasn't even really that smart. But I did read a lot. And I had this friend, Ben, and his family was very wealthy and his mum wanted him to get into reading. So she was always buying him the new books and all these books that I couldn't necessarily afford. You know those really, really good books that would never be in the school library, and if the library did have them, they were always checked out to kids who would never bring them back. So it's important to know, before I get into the meat of this story, that me and Ben, we were really good friends, even at this point. But before this point in time, there was a particular girl that we had both been really interested in. We both had a crush on her. And I knew her long before him, and yet she still chose him. And in my little head at the time, I didn't really understand why, because I thought I was better friends with her. He was a little bit chubby, so to me, I was like, I didn't understand, and I was a bit resentful. Keep in mind, I said his family was wealthy, so maybe that was it. Maybe she was a gold-digging hoe, but it was grade 3, so probably not. Although he did buy her a lot of stuff from the tuck shop. You know what, I'm digging a hole here I don't want to go into. She was with him. Our friendship kind of suffered. Me and the girl's friendship kind of suffered. But I stayed boys with Ben. Anyway, we had this English class where the English teacher would let us bring in a book and spend some of each class reading those books. And like I said, Ben had all of the newest books that most other kids didn't have. So he had this other female friend that he was a bit chatty with. I'm just saying. And he would sit next to her in this English class every time, even though I was in the fucking class. He made me sit on my own like a damn pleb. He would sit next to her and they would read this new awesome book together. Keep in mind, I asked him a few times if I could borrow some of these new books he was getting, but he wasn't allowed to lend them out. But he would still sit next to, you know, this little floozy in our class, and they would read these books together. And I just remember being genuinely resentful when I was around Ben, just because he kind of had it all as far as I was concerned at the time. And having it all when you're in grade 3 isn't really having that much. But if you had change to burn at the tuck shop line, you ruled the world. So here's where the story gets interesting. One day, we go back to Ben's house and we're playing PlayStation, PS2 or whatever was out at the time. It was PS1 or PS2. Either way, we were playing PlayStation at his house because we didn't have one where I lived. I remember there was a point where I walked into his room and I was looking at his amazing bookshelf and I thought to myself, you know what? Fuck this guy. I'm taking one of these books. I'll read it. And I had every intention of returning it afterwards. So I grabbed, there were these Andy Griffiths books out at the time, really wacky books that all the kids were in love with. And I still remember it vividly. This one had a picture of like a robot chicken on the front. So I took one of the books, I took it home, I hid it in my bag, whatever. I got home and I was like, yes, I can finally read this fucking book that I've wanted to read for so long. And I opened it up and all of these papers fell out. They were like folded up notes. I had no idea what they were. I assumed they were bookmarks, but my nosy ass couldn't just leave it be. I had to read them, and I had to find out what was going on. Now, as it turns out, this was one of the books that Ben had very recently been sharing with this second girl in the class, in the English class. Not his girlfriend, it was another girl. And as it turns out, they'd been passing love notes to each other. Now, to me, this was like finding the Holy Grail in Indiana Jones or the fucking Crystal Skull. It was like finding that scroll thing that Nicolas Cage was looking for in that one movie. I was stoked. And I'm willing to bet that you already know why I was so excited. It was because my petty ass had to spoil things. I mean, to be fair, Ben was being a bit of a flirt. But it was grade 3. Like, it wasn't that big of a deal, but me, I went to school the next day. I ran into Ben in the morning and stone cold. I played it cool. I remember this vividly. I played it cool. He said, "Hey man, how's it going?" I said, "Hey dude, are you excited for English class today?" Oh, yes. In my head, I was like, shit is about to go down. So about 10 minutes before English class rolls around, I knew that Ben was going to head over there early so he could make sure he gets his seat next to his new little girlfriend. I go to the current girlfriend that I still had a crush on, and I exposed him. Let me tell you right now, hell hatheth no fury like a grade 3 girl scorned. She was pissed. Little Amanda stormed right over to that classroom. And she dumped him on the spot. And not only that, no, she points to the other girl and she says, "Watch your back, bitch." She straight up put the fear of God into that little homewrecker, and me on the sides, I'm like, oh damn, yes, here's my chance. And then Ben looks at Stacy and he goes, "How did you know?" And Stacy turns to him and says, "Cam showed me the notes." Me on the side, I'm like rubbing my hands together until this point, and then she says that and I'm like, oh shit. Ben was a big boy. Like I said before, he was a big boy for a grade 3-er. I was trying to play it cool up to this point, act surprised and all that. And then I look over to Ben, and he has the fury of the army of 300 in his eyes. But that's where the exciting part ends. Nothing really happened after that, including my relationship with Stacy. It didn't go anywhere. I didn't even get the girl. So if Ben is watching this, I just want to say, Ben, look, it was a long time ago, but if you want your book, you'll have to come and get it, motherfucker! And Stacy, I still love you. This has been a 100% true story of my life, one of the very few interesting stories that I have. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Catch ya.